Welcome to the Marine Species Awareness Training, or MSAT, module of the United States Navy Afloat Environmental Compliance Training Series. MSAT is an important element of the Navy's commitment to environmental compliance and stewardship, providing training in effective watchstanding and an overview of the marine species you may potentially see and be required to report to the appropriate watch station. Navy policy requires strict compliance with environmental laws, including the Marine Mammal Protection Act and Endangered Species Act. Marine mammals, which include whales, dolphins, porpoises, manatees, dugongs, sea lions, seals, walruses, sea otters, and polar bears, are protected under the Marine Mammal Protection Act. Within the marine environment, all species of sea turtle and some species of marine mammals, fishes, corals, and birds are protected under the Endangered Species Act. These laws mean the Navy must avoid disturbing these species when possible, including implementing mitigation measures to protect these species from impacts from training and testing. Impacts could include behavioral changes, injury, or death. The specific mitigation measures required for each training and testing activity are described in the Navy's Protective Measures Assessment Protocol, or PMAP. PMAP is the comprehensive source of the Navy's worldwide at-sea mitigation measures. These measures are specific to all regular training and testing activities and may vary by location and time of year. Therefore, PMAP should always be run before any in-water training or testing activity. The use of lookouts is one of the Navy's most important mitigation measures. Lookouts are used to help prevent adverse impacts to marine resources during activities such as pile driving, active sonar use, explosions, use of ordnance, and surface ship movements. The area where visual observations must occur is called the mitigation zone and will be referred to as the area of observation in this training. Visual detections of marine mammals and sea turtles within a mitigation zone should be communicated immediately to the supervisory watch station for dissemination and appropriate action. The PMAP report will provide direction on observation requirements and mitigation zones for each activity. While you may already have training or direct experience in detecting objects at sea, MSAT will build upon these skills. This training provides details on the types of marine mammals and sea turtles you may encounter, specific sighting cues you should watch for, and best practices for successfully conducting visual observations for marine species. Successfully completing this training is critically important to helping the Navy achieve environmental compliance. Failure to maintain this compliance could lead to you facing career penalties, criminal charges, or fines. For the Navy, this failure could lead to the cancellation of training or testing activities or restrictions on when and where training and testing can occur. Ultimately, these consequences could severely deteriorate the Navy's ability to maintain military readiness. Observing for marine mammals and sea turtles is an essential component of the Navy's mitigation measures. These measures are required by law, and failure to comply with them can have serious personal, Navy-wide, and environmental impacts. There are a wide range of marine species you may see as a lookout. Although you are not required to identify the specific species of marine animals, you should attempt to identify the marine animal type, such as dolphins or a sea turtle. The most important thing is to be able to identify when you have seen a marine mammal or sea turtle, so you can report the sighting to the appropriate watch station. Dolphins and porpoises are marine mammals that range in size from 4 feet to 30 feet long. Some larger species of dolphin are commonly referred to as whales, such as the killer whale. Dolphins may be sighted alone or in groups ranging from a few dozen to hundreds to even several thousand. Porpoises may be seen alone or in small groups, usually not more than 5 animals. Dolphins and porpoises occur worldwide and are most often located in areas associated with their food sources. Therefore, sightings of large schools of fish, floating vegetation, or diving seabirds may indicate that a dolphin or porpoise could be feeding in your observation area. The feeding behavior of some dolphins and porpoises includes splashing at the surface. When these animals leap out of the water, they usually create a splash that can be seen from a good distance away. Almost all dolphins and porpoises have a fin on their back. The back fin and tails are often the most visible and easily recognizable parts of the body. If you are observing pierside or from a surface vessel, look for the top part of the head, fins, and back, and keep an eye out for splashes. You may see the whole body if the animal swims close to your platform or leaps out of the water, such as when it swims quickly or rides the bow wave of a ship. If you are observing from an aircraft, look for splashes in the body or fins at or just below the surface of the water. Whales are marine mammals that range in size from 10 feet to nearly 100 feet long. They may be sighted alone or in small groups. Whales spend anywhere from 10 minutes to more than an hour at the surface in between underwater dives. Many whales produce a spout, commonly referred to as a blow, as they breathe. Blows look like a puff of spray and are often easy to sight even along the horizon. Almost all whales have a small fin or ridge on their back, and many show their tail before diving underwater. Some whales can leap entirely out of the water or slap their fin or tail on the water's surface, which creates a splash. As a whale swims below the surface, you may see the effect of the upward thrust of its tail. A calm, circular slick may appear on the surface of the water. This is called a fluke print. Prints are usually visible for 10 to 15 seconds, with new ones appearing as the whale travels. The trail of prints will help you track the whale's direction of travel. Whales occur worldwide and can be seen at any time of the year. The feeding behavior of some whales includes raising the head above the water or lunging through the water at the surface. If you are observing pierside or from a surface vessel, look for splashes, blows, fins, and the top portion of a whale's back. If you are observing from an aircraft, look for splashes, blows, and the body or fins at or just below the surface. Seals, sea lions, and walruses are marine mammals that live in the ocean but will come on land for long periods of time to rest or have their young. Seals can be found worldwide, while sea lions are mostly found in the Pacific Ocean, and walruses are found in the cold water near the Arctic. When on land, they can be sighted alone or in groups on rocks, beaches, buoys, and piers. Walruses have tusks, so they are especially easy to identify. When swimming, seals, sea lions, and walruses raise their entire head out of the water to breathe. This provides the best opportunity to make a sighting, particularly from a lower position. If you are sighting from the air or a high vantage point on a ship, you may also be able to see the animal's full body just below the surface. These animals do not have a fin on their back, but they do have hind flippers, which may be observed if they are swimming or diving at the surface. Some species, such as sea lions, may leap partially or entirely out of the water when they are traveling quickly. Sea otters are among the smallest marine mammals, measuring 3 to 5 feet long and usually weighing less than 100 pounds. They are only found in the Pacific Ocean, usually near shore and often near kelp beds. You may see their head above the water if they are swimming at the surface. They are also frequently seen floating on their backs. Manatees and dugongs are slow-moving marine mammals that live in shallow ocean waters, rivers, and lagoons. Manatees live in the Atlantic Ocean and are found in the southeastern United States, especially in Florida, the Caribbean, and Central America. Dugongs are a closely related species found in some areas of the Western Pacific and Indian Oceans. Both manatees and dugongs are large, barrel-shaped animals. These animals come up to breathe every 3 to 5 minutes, often with only their snout emerging above the water. This makes them difficult to see from a distance, particularly from a low vantage point. Look for a swirl on the water surface, discoloration beneath the water, or their emerging snout. Polar bears are marine mammals that live in remote habitats in the Arctic. They are typically only seen within 200 miles of Arctic sea ice. Sea turtles are reptiles that occur in oceans worldwide and can often be sighted in areas that have food sources, such as jellyfish and aggregations of floating vegetation or sea grasses. In some areas, sea turtles come up onto the beaches to rest or lay eggs, and therefore may be sighted on or near shore. If you are observing pierside or on a surface vessel, the shell of a sea turtle may be difficult to detect from farther than about 20 yards. You may have a better chance at sighting its head as it surfaces to breathe. If looking downward from a higher vantage point or observing from an aerial platform, look for the circular shape of a sea turtle shell, often a brownish or blackish color against the water. In addition to observing for marine mammals and sea turtles, other environmental cues may indicate that a marine mammal or sea turtle may be nearby. Flocks of seabirds are a common sight at sea, either flying, floating at the surface, or diving. Seabirds often feed in correlation with floating mats of vegetation and schools of fish. If you see groups of seabirds, especially if they are actively diving and feeding, examine the area closely for marine mammals or sea turtles that may also be feeding nearby. Some kinds of marine vegetation, such as mats of seaweed and kelp, float at the water's surface. Floating seaweed and kelp are brown in color and clumped together in mats or patches. Vegetation provides food or habitats for sea turtles, shrimp, fishes, marine mammals, and seabirds. Jellyfish are often bell-shaped with trailing tentacles and can form aggregations of up to thousands of individuals. Sea turtles are known to feed on jellyfish. The location, platform, and sea state will affect your ability to sight marine animals. Strive to maximize your potential for effective observation. Higher platforms allow you to see farther distances and deeper down into the water than lower platforms. Even in a small boat close to the water, standing rather than sitting will make a difference. If you have flexibility to adjust the speed of your surface platform, for example, on a rigid-hulled inflatable boat, aim to operate at between 5 and 10 knots if it meets mission needs. Slow speeds are generally more favorable than fast speeds for observing marine animals. These principles of height and speed also apply to aircraft. Altitudes between 1,000 and 1,500 feet at authorized loitering airspeeds are optimal for sighting marine mammals and sea turtles. As a reference, scientific surveys are flown at speeds of around 100 knots. As always, adjustments to your platform speed or altitude should be made consistent with mission and safety requirements. Sea state is another factor that may affect your ability to sight marine animals. On a calm day, when the water surface is flat, disturbances will be relatively easy to see. On windy days, when the water surface is choppy, it may be challenging to differentiate between whitecaps and disturbances caused by a marine animal. Maintain focus for sighting cues. Even in choppy water, you may still be able to detect bodies, splashes, or blows of a marine mammal. Regardless of your viewing conditions, one of the most important influences on your effectiveness as an observer is you. The reality is that it's easy to become discouraged or unfocused after spending a long time scanning the water, especially if you haven't made any sightings. Because marine animals are highly mobile, their presence in your area of observation is likely to change on a monthly, daily, or even hourly basis. This may sound obvious, but sightings may occur at any time, but are only possible if you are actually looking at the water. Maintain a positive attitude and remain alert. Your observation efforts are critically important to the Navy's environmental protection and compliance responsibilities. You are the Navy's first line of defense in preventing harm to marine resources during training and testing activities.
You have been selected to serve as a lookout during a mine countermeasure and neutralization exercise. The PMAP report for this exercise details the necessary mitigation measures. PMAP specifies a 600-yard mitigation zone around the 5-pound charge must be observed for marine mammals starting 30 minutes before the exercise, during the exercise, and for 30 minutes after the detonation. The officer in charge has directed you to conduct this visual observation, and you are responsible for coordinating sightings between other boats and implementing mitigation. If a marine mammal is sighted within the mitigation zone, halt the exercise until the area has been clear for 30 minutes. You are encouraged to ask any questions pertaining to your lookout responsibilities. During this exercise, you sight a group of dolphins, but they are outside the mitigation zone. You report the following information to your team. Dolphins sighted, bearing 040, range 650 yards, outside the mitigation zone. Dolphins appear to be slowly opening. Will maintain visual contact and provide notification if dolphins enter the mitigation zone. The exercise can proceed, as long as the dolphins are safely outside the mitigation zone.
Your visual observation tools include a combination of your naked eye and binoculars. Having good vision or wearing corrective lenses while conducting visual observations is extremely important. Polarized sunglasses should be used whenever possible to help reduce sun glare. Handheld binoculars should be handy for use while scanning the surface of the water or taking a closer look at a sighting cue. If observing from a ship, big eye binoculars are particularly useful for observing distances beyond 1,000 yards. Ensure that big eyes and binoculars are kept in good working order so they may be used at a moment's notice. Other technologies such as night vision should be used if available and consistent with your command instructions. Conduct visual observations for marine animals using the techniques from the Navy Lookout Training Handbook. When observing pierside or from a surface vessel, scan in 5-degree steps across the observation area. Pause between steps for approximately 5 seconds to scan the field of view, which will give time for marine resources to surface or become visible between swells. Scanning the observation area using a steady, systematic pattern is much more effective for sighting marine resources than quickly looking around the area at random. Disturbances on the water could indicate the presence of an animal or could just be a whitecap. If you see a splash, pause your scan on that location for at least 30 seconds. If you don't confirm the sighting within about 30 seconds, continue your scan pattern. After scanning the entire observation area, rest your eyes by blinking them for a few seconds. Then search back across the sector. Use a combination of the naked eye and binoculars depending on your distance from the area of observation. When observing from an aircraft, apply the same general search pattern using the naked eye. Binoculars should be used to take a closer look at or identify a marine animal, object, or other sighting cue. If there are 2 or more people conducting observations from the same platform, it is helpful to divide the search area. This way, each person can concentrate their search pattern over a smaller area while reducing overlap. These are the same techniques that are effective at looking for submarine periscopes or debris that could pose a navigation hazard.
Your aircraft is conducting a sonar dipping exercise. As an aircrew member, you are responsible for observing the area and reporting any marine mammal sightings. The PMAP report for this exercise details the necessary mitigation measures. PMAP specifies that a 200-yard mitigation zone around the dipping location must be observed for marine mammals during the exercise. The helicopter aircraft commander has directed you to vigilantly observe the area and immediately report all marine mammals you sight within the mitigation zone. You are encouraged to ask any questions pertaining to your lookout responsibilities. During this exercise, you do not sight any marine mammals while sonar is active. The exercise is able to proceed as planned.
If you are the officer in charge of the exercise or civilian equivalent, familiarize yourself with the required mitigation measures in your activities PMAP report. Brief personnel on their observation requirements, sighting notification procedures, and if there is a need to keep a log of the sightings. It is your responsibility to ensure that all watch personnel and lookouts perform their duties to the best of their abilities. Upon being notified of a sighting, you must ensure that any required mitigation measures are implemented. If you are an observer, your sighting response depends on your platform and the requirements specified by the person in charge of the exercise. Be sure that you clearly understand your personal responsibilities so you can immediately take the proper course of action during and after a sighting. If you have questions, ask. All sightings should be communicated to the chain of command through the standard notification process and amongst all other observers. Communication and teamwork will help all observers maintain awareness of the presence of an animal in relation to the observation area. When notifying the watch station of a sighting, include the following information. Identify the animal sighted. If you know that you have sighted a marine mammal, you may state, for example, that it was a dolphin or whale. However, if you're unable to recognize the type, simply report unidentified marine mammal. If you sight a sea turtle but don't know the species, you may report it simply as sea turtle. Determine the bearing of the animal relative to your platform. Determine the range of the animal relative to the area of observation. For example, if your area of observation is a distance around a target, report the range of the animal to the target. If your area of observation includes observing the path of a ship while underway, report the range of the animal to the ship. Identify whether the animal is moving from right to left, left to right, opening, closing, paralleling, and its speed. If you see an animal surface a few times, you can usually tell what direction the head or dorsal fin is pointing, and as a result, be able to predict where it is heading relative to your area of observation. The Navy keeps summary reports of all marine mammal and sea turtle sightings during certain training or testing activities. These are part of annual reports provided to Navy leadership. Here are some examples of log entries to give you a good idea of what a lookout may observe as part of a sighting and what you should be prepared to report up the chain of command. Clear day. Sea turtle approximately 70 yards off the bow. Dove underwater and was not sighted again. Windy day with frequent whitecaps. Whale jumped completely out of the water and splashed down on its side 500 yards off the starboard bow. Swam parallel to the ship for 20 minutes. Lookout made repeated sightings of its back fin. Whale dove underwater, showed its tail, and was not seen again. Clear day. 10 dolphins closed the ship and rode the bow wave for a few minutes, then disappeared behind the stern.
You have been selected to serve as a lookout during a gunnery training exercise. The PMAP report for this exercise details the necessary mitigation measures. A 200-yard mitigation zone around the gunnery target must be observed for marine mammals during the exercise. The officer in charge has directed you to vigilantly observe and immediately report all marine mammals you sight within the mitigation zone. You are encouraged to ask any questions pertaining to your lookout responsibilities.
Right bridge.
Ma'am.
Let AF lookout know that if they see any mammals off our port side, they need to make a report to me while we're firing.
AF lookout, Bright Bridge.
AF lookout.
Hey, while we're firing, I need you to keep reports of mammal life. Make sure you make reports up here.
Bright Bridge, AF lookout. Any written report required for sightings?
Ma'am. Hey, AF lookout wants to know if you should keep a log of the mammals.
No, just make verbal reports up here and we'll be good.
Roger.
Bright Bridge, AF lookout. Have a whale blow off the port side, approximately 400 yards out.
Officer deck, AF lookout has reported a whale sighting off our port side.
All right, go call combat and call captain.
Aye.
Upon hearing the report of whales in the mitigation zone, the officer of the deck immediately halted the training exercise and notified the CO. After approximately 15 minutes, both you and the OOD observed the whales swimming out of the mitigation zone. The OOD reported to the CO the range was clear. The CO then authorized the exercise to resume.
This concludes the Marine Species Awareness Training. By completing MSAT, you have personally fulfilled one of your mitigation requirements. To fulfill your second mitigation responsibility, you must implement the lessons learned in MSAT while on the job. For an officer in charge of an exercise or civilian equivalent, you must familiarize yourself with the required mitigation measures, know the proper sighting notification procedures specific to your platform and activity, and if there is a requirement to keep a written log of sightings, brief personnel on their observation requirements, ensure that all watch personnel, lookouts, and air crew perform their duties to the best of their abilities, and implement any required mitigation measures in response to a sighting. For observers, you must vigilantly observe for sighting cues and communicate sightings to the chain of command and amongst other observers. The Navy greatly values the time and effort you contribute to visually observing for marine species. Your efforts help protect marine resources while ensuring the Navy's ability to maintain military readiness.